In this video, we'll examine a strategy for handling stress on test day. Now to set this up, I'd like you to read a common type of post you'll find on some of the GRE discussion forums. It describes a person who bombed on test day, even though he or she performed wonderfully on all of the official practice tests. These posts often come with a follow-up question asking whether or not the official practice test software is a reliable predictor of one's performance on test day. The short answer to this question is no. Yes, the Power Prep test software is a reliable predictor of your proficiency with GRE content, but it is not necessarily a reliable predictor of your ability to function effectively in a formal testing environment. The reason for this is that you're not taking these practice tests in a formal testing environment. You're taking them at home, and there's a big difference. At home, you're sitting on a comfortable chair in your pajamas while relaxing music plays in the background. A cup of tea sits next to your keyboard, and your dog sleeps by your feet. This is anything but formal. More importantly, your home is a low-stakes testing environment. A practice test doesn't cost you anything, and the results don't matter. If you bomb it, no one knows, and it has no effect on your ability to get into a graduate program. Things are much different when you're sitting in the test center. First of all, you just paid a lot of money to take the test. You had to negotiate traffic to get to the testing center on time. The test center smells funny, there's no nice music, you probably aren't wearing pajamas, you can't bring your dog, and that person beside you is banging away so hard on the keyboard that you want to strangle him. Plus, this test counts. Your score today will be sent to schools everywhere, and if you've waited too long, this may be your one chance to take the test before the application deadlines. Now please know that I'm not saying any of this to scare you. I'm saying it to prepare you. If you're like many people preparing for the GRE, several years have passed since you last took a formal exam. And even then, I bet the stakes were much lower at the time. Sure, that sociology final you wrote 5 years ago was a tough test, but it probably had little effect on your future. In fact, it probably just determined whether you got an A or a B for the course. The GRE is different. And as such, your response on test day may be different from what you think it will be. The truth of the matter is, a lot of people suffer from some sort of test anxiety. Sometimes it's obvious and sometimes it isn't. Now, there are countless articles on the topic of test anxiety, and there are countless ways to prepare for and mitigate test anxiety. These include relaxation techniques, positive visualization, and meditation, to name a few. Different strategies will work for different people. So I encourage you to do some research well before test day and find the strategies that work best for you. Now, having said that, I'd like to discuss one strategy that pretty much works for everyone, and that is deep breathing. To fully understand the tremendous power of this strategy, I'd like you to try a little experiment. Right now, completely exhale all of the air from your lungs, and once you've done that, hold your breath. Now, as you continue to hold your breath, please pay very close attention to your emotional state. Even within a few seconds, most people will begin feeling some kind of anxiety, and as time progresses, that anxiety will become more intense. Now, this is a completely reasonable response. Your body needs oxygen to survive, so it's useful to have some sort of anxiety-producing mechanism in your body that compels you to breathe. While this mechanism helps keep you alive, it can kill your score on test day. Here's how. Let's say that you're at the test center, and for whatever reason, you start feeling anxious. When this happens, one of your body's typical responses is to breathe less deeply. This shallow breathing then reduces the amount of oxygen that your lungs are able to take in, and guess what happens when you starve your body of oxygen? Well, if you're still holding your breath, you know that this lack of oxygen causes even more anxiety. At this point, we've closed the loop on this vicious cycle. And when you're trapped in this loop, your brain has a harder time concentrating on the task at hand, and your score ultimately suffers. So as you can imagine, we want to avoid getting ourselves trapped in this cycle. Now, the preferred option is to prevent the scenario from happening altogether by employing one or more of the strategies that work best for you. However, if you do find yourself trapped in this loop, you need a way to break out of it. And here's where you're going to escape. If you find yourself feeling more and more anxious, begin breathing deeply. Once you begin breathing deeply, you'll supply your body with more oxygen, which will help reduce your anxiety which will inevitably help you concentrate on the test, which will eventually help you break the cycle. Now, the biggest drawback of this strategy is that it's too easy. In fact, it's so simple that it's easy to forget, especially when you're trapped inside the loop. So to help you remember this simple strategy, it's a good idea to do something special as a reminder. One suggestion is to wear a rubber band around your wrist. This should be enough to remind you what to do if you find yourself trapped inside the loop on test day.